Oh my goodness, the Houston Texans continue to make all kinds of moves in free agency, and trust me everybody, this is going to be a completely different team this upcoming year. We know early in the offseason they landed the hottest coach entering the market, DeMeco Ryans, former defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers. And this is a guy who the Denver Broncos actually wanted, but instead they had to settle for Sean Payton. They even tried to get DeMeco Ryans after they already interviewed Sean Payton. And Brandin Cooks, the 29-year-old wide receiver, unfortunately is no longer going to be part of the Houston Texans. They had to move on from the guy, sending him to the Dallas Cowboys for a 5th-round pick in 2023 and a 6th-round pick in 2024. And Brandin Cooks had been open about the fact that he's unhappy being with the Houston Texans. Obviously, they did not win many games last year, so that's going to make any veteran unhappy. And at the very least, the Texans get some value for Brandin Cooks, the 29-year-old wide receiver. They do have to pay part of his contract in order to make this happen. The Texans are paying $6 million of his contract and also eating $22 million in dead money, which is pretty bad. But when you consider the fact that teams like the Rams are barely getting a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, I would say a 5th and 6th-round pick for Cooks is pretty good. But the biggest move happened today, and it was quite shocking. And it also involves the Dallas Cowboys. The Houston Texans have signed Dalton Schultz, a 6'5", 244-pound tight end, drafted in the 4th round by the Dallas Cowboys in 2018. This guy has had 13 touchdowns over the past 2 years, 577 yards last year, and 808 yards the year prior. And it kind of sucks because NFL fans are cruel and they're totally crapping on Dalton Schultz because he gambled on himself. Dalton Schultz originally rejected a 3-year, $36 million contract from the Dallas Cowboys. And instead, he decided to test free agency, and now he will finally be signing with the Houston Texans, but it's for a contract that's a 1-year deal, only worth up to $9 million. But this could still be a good play for Dalton Schultz. He's 26 years old, and I think he'll get a lot more targets on the Texans offense than he would with the Dallas Cowboys. And we know last season, Dameon Pierce was a great running back for the Houston Texans, but they brought in another guy to help complement him, and they brought in none other than Devin Singletary. And this is a running back who has 13 rushing touchdowns the past 2 seasons, over 800 yards the past 2 seasons, and has tons and tons of playoff experience playing with the Buffalo Bills. He was drafted by the Bills in the 3rd round in 2019, still a young guy at 25 years old, and he's set to make $3.75 million this year with the Texans. Keep in mind, prior to today, the Texans also had a massive contract with defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, the former New York Jet, a $10.5 million contract for 1 year, insane deal, and really, they got the best all-around solid defensive tackle in free agency. This is a guy who's not completely dominant in either pass rush or run defense, but he is great at both. And I think he'll be a perfect complement to interior defensive tackle Malik Collins, who is more of a pass rusher, but a heavy one. And there have been some more moves for the Texans that we haven't even talked about, and some of the biggest moves that they've made this past offseason, that is signing Jimmy Ward, the guy who was going to lead this defense, who was with DeMeco Ryans when he was part of the San Francisco 49ers, the strong safety, going to be joining the Texans. And this is a 2-year contract at $13 million, so roughly $6.5 million a year, with about $8.5 million guaranteed. This guy is here to stay with the Houston Texans for at least the next 2 years. And we kind of knew that Brandin Cooks was going to be on the go right after the Houston Texans went out of their way to sign the former Tennessee Titan wide receiver Robert Woods. Even though Brandin Cooks left this message out there saying, "Love to see that from my brother Robert Woods. He will be great. Go crazy, brother." Little did he know that he would not end up playing with his brother. So Robert Woods was released by the Tennessee Titans. It saved them about $12 million in cap space, but he made his money and made his name with the LA Rams, right? He came to fame with the LA Rams, but was traded to Tennessee last year in 2022 for a 6th-round pick. And now the Texans will be picking him up with a 2-year, $15.2 million contract with about $10 million total guaranteed. That means that this guy is also locked in for the next 2 years. But the biggest move for the Texans is one of those positions that the media in the NFL world tends to neglect, and that is signing left tackle Laremy Tunsil to a huge contract extension. This is a 3-year, $75 million deal for the 29-year-old left tackle, and about $60 million are guaranteed in this contract, so this guy is going to be locked in for the next 3 years, and that is great to solidify the offensive line here for your offense for the Houston Texans. You got that taken care of. You had a decent right tackle fill in for you with Cowherd last year, and you have all these receivers. Hopefully Mechie will be able to play, and Davis Mills, we know there's been some promise there, but everybody knows the Houston Texans are selecting a quarterback, whether it be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And I think if you want more of a mobile, potentially a dual threat quarterback, you're going to go more with Bryce Young if you're the Houston Texans, and he has all these weapons in front of him, a complete offense with two great running backs. Finally, you solidify the tight end. And then on the defensive side of the football, DeMeco Ryans, being a former defensive coordinator for the 49ers, should be able to make this work. And yes, they added some weapons to the interior defensive line, but I think they're still going to need to address the edge position. And hopefully Stingley Jr., the former number 3 overall pick in 2022, can take a big second-year jump. And obviously Jimmy Ward is going to be able to lead the defense here for DeMeco Ryans. And when you're looking at this division in the AFC South, you're seeing the Tennessee Titans get rid of tons of players. They look like they're rebuilding. The Jaguars, I think they got lucky last year because there was not much competition in the AFC South. And the Colts, they're going to need to find their quarterback. They're drafting after the Texans. They grabbed Gardner Minshew. Who knows if that will be enough, but to be completely honest, the Colts does have the stronger defense than the Texans right now. However, I think the Texans have the better defensive coach. So let me know what your prediction is for the Texans in the draft. Who will they grab at quarterback, and how well do you think they'll do this year? I think these guys are going to really shock some people. If you want more NFL content from me, make sure you like this video if you have not yet, and subscribe to this channel, WiFiWillie NFL, for more content from us.